The story of Holl's Chocolates really starts with my dad. He was born in Germany, small town in southern Germany, and his parents owned a restaurant and a butcher shop. So it was him and one brother, and it was decided early on that one would take over the family butcher shop and restaurant, and the other one would get sent to Zurich, Switzerland to do an apprenticeship with an uncle who had a chocolate shop there. So my dad drew the lucky straw because he had asthma, and they thought that the mountain air of Switzerland would be good for his asthma. So he was sent to do the chocolate apprenticeship. So he ended up spending 3 years doing a classical European apprenticeship with his uncle, traveled around Switzerland and worked in lots of different places, and kind of honed his craft, became a master chocolatier in his own right. Then he and a friend decided that they were going to come to the United States. And they had another mutual friend who had landed in Toledo, Ohio. So that kind of narrowed the range geographically a little bit. And just before my dad left Switzerland, he saw an ad placed in a trade journal. And that ad was placed by a businessman from here in the Parkersburg, Marietta area who wanted to hire a Swiss-trained chocolatier. So that's how my dad made his way from Switzerland to Toledo and then eventually to Marietta, Ohio, which is where Broughton Dairy Company, that's the company that he ended up, or that Mr. Broughton, Carl Broughton, was the guy who was looking for a Swiss chocolatier. And this was in the late 1950s, and he went into it with that intention that they were going to make chocolates and sell them in the Broughton's chain of ice cream stores, and it just didn't work. People were not interested in European pastries and chocolates, or unwilling to pay a premium for it, or who knows why it didn't work, but it didn't. But my dad ended up working for Broughton's for the next 30 years doing all kinds of other things, and would stay in practice of chocolate making by making chocolates at Christmas and at Easter time for friends and neighbors. So when he retired in 1986, those friends and neighbors said, hey, you should get back in the chocolate business. And that's really what it was. It was a retirement hobby for him. And he started in our kitchen at home making chocolates. And then after that, we moved to a small storefront in Parkersburg. And that's when my mom joined the business. She is Swiss. She grew up in Switzerland and worked in a really upscale flower shop in Zurich, Switzerland. So that's where she learned her customer service magic. And she ran the front of the house, so she interacted with the customers. My dad would be in back making the chocolates, and people just enjoyed shopping with her, and they liked the chocolates, and the business grew from there. I finished college at WVU in 1992 and did an apprenticeship alongside my dad for the next few years, and learned chocolate making just the way he had in Switzerland, 40, 50 years earlier. So it's really a very direct connection to that very traditional and authentic way of Swiss chocolate making. And then he started to have some health problems, and I stepped in and took over, and that's kind of how we got to more or less where we are now. It's just, we've grown from there. The box chocolates that we sell now are still very, very similar to what he started out with. They're very traditional Swiss chocolates. The Swiss are not, they're not cutting edge. They're not envelope pushers. They're very traditional kind of society, and they've been making chocolates there for hundreds of years. And there's a tradition of training and apprenticing and learning. So really, a lot of what we sell today in the box chocolates is very similar to what we did back then. Now we've of course adapted for our market, so we now do some chocolate-covered caramels and cherry cordials, more traditional American style chocolates that our customers asked for. But really, a lot of what he made 25 years ago, we're still making very similarly today. Most of our truffles have like 3 ingredients, and it's really not that complicated to figure out how to do it. And there are books out there that have, that tell you how to make a truffle. It's really more a matter of starting with really great ingredients. That's key. We import all of our raw chocolate from Switzerland, which we think is where the best chocolate in the world comes from. Starting with a really good chocolate using local fresh cream. And then, obviously there's some technique involved in it too, but there's no secret formula that we, keep under lock and key or anything like that. We have a couple of different ways that we have seasonal offerings, or a couple different ways that we have things appropriate for the season. The first is every month we have a Truffle of the Month, or a monthly feature that kind of evokes the season. But in addition to the monthly feature, we also have some seasonal special items. In the spring is our most popular one, chocolate dipped strawberries. In the summer, we added chocolate dipped frozen pops a few years ago, which is basically an ice cream but frozen on a stick like a popsicle and then dipped in chocolate. In the fall, we do chocolate dipped caramel apples, and that's probably our second most popular seasonal item. People really look forward to that one. And that's just a Granny Smith apple that we dip first in caramel, then we dip it in milk chocolate, and then we finish it either with chocolate curls or we roll it in toasted cashews, which that's a winner right there. Yeah. Boxed chocolates are what we do best. It's what we're known for, and it's definitely our best seller. You know, it varies a little because at Christmas time, you know, we'll see people come in and buy 5 or 10 boxes that they'll give out to acquaintances or friends or you know, business relations, and we'll sell a lot of our pre-packed assortments because people want to give a sampler. And then, of course, at Valentine's Day, you're typically buying for someone that you know really, really well. So then people will come in and say, okay, I want to pick and choose what goes in the box, and I want to get just a certain flavors that I know that special someone will like. But you know, boxed chocolates are by far what we sell the most of. It just kind of changes as to what's in those boxes for the season. Most chocolate shops would wholesale what they make and maybe sell in gift shops or tourist sites or whatever. But because our chocolates are very perishable, because they're made with fresh cream and we don't add any preservatives or do anything to artificially extend the shelf life, they need to be eaten within 2 weeks of purchase. Well, that makes it really difficult for us to put them in a gift shop somewhere, you know, for the holidays. So our chocolates are not available in anyone else's shop. They're only available in our shops and online. Coffee, wine, and chocolate, they're interrelated in a lot of different ways. You know, the vocabulary that you use to describe a wine or a coffee is very similar to what you use for chocolate. There are corollaries as far as, you know, if you like milk chocolate, you're probably more likely to like, you know, sweeter, less intense wines and maybe less intense coffees. So, you know, the idea is that by offering these things, and of course they pair well together. So that's really the main reason that we carry them. Is the wines that we carry are almost all on the sweeter end of the spectrum, dessert wines, because they pair better with chocolate. The coffees all pair well with chocolate. That's a classic combination. So the idea is that, you know, if somebody comes in and says, hey, I want to buy a gift for someone and I know they love Moscato, we can say, all right, if they love Moscato, they're probably going to like milk chocolate better than a really intense dark chocolate, and maybe make a suggestion on that front, and then pick a lighter, you know, more lighter, less intense coffee that would be more to their liking. So it's really allows us to make gift combinations and make suggestions, and you know, and it's just fun to have. We're very efficient. You know, the Swiss are nothing if not efficient. So we have a very small production space, but we turn out about 40 to 50,000 pounds of chocolate a year out of that space. So, yeah, and you know, the only bad thing I can think of about the chocolate business is it's extremely seasonal. So, you know, summertime, July, August, September, totally dead and very slow. And then as soon as October, November, and December roll around, things pick up. December is just insanity because we do half our year's business between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Then January is dead slow, and then of course the first 2 weeks of February are crazy busy again. So it's really a very up and down, and you have to plan well to make sure that we have the inventory when we need it. But you know, we've gotten pretty good at it over the years. We've shipped chocolates to, I don't actually have documentation for this, but I'm virtually certain we've shipped chocolates to every state in the country. It's very important to us that when you come in the shop that you have a pleasant experience. We've always had a very generous sampling policy. You know, we want you to taste the chocolate, and we hope that is, you know, we think that's our best mode of advertising, is to get you to try it. And that's why we added wine sampling, and we always have a couple of coffees brewed up. So when you come in the shop, you know, we want it to be a welcoming and enjoyable visit.